I'm embarrassed whenever my short-term actions don't align with my long-term values. And I think that is really the root of embarrassment. TK, I've got some talk-aboutables for you.
Let's talk about it.
I'm embarrassed by this.
Uh-oh. By my little jingle? Because the timing was...
That was cute.
I was kind of insecure about it, so thanks for the validation, Bama. What are you embarrassed about?
I'm embarrassed whenever my short-term actions don't align with my long-term values. And I think that is really the root of embarrassment. Yes, it's possible to get embarrassed because I woke up naked in the middle of somewhere and all of a sudden, well, maybe I value being perceived a certain way. We get embarrassed by a bunch of absurd things that aren't really embarrassing. I'm terrified of public speaking because of the humiliation aspect. I'm terrified of being buck naked in public because of the humiliation aspect. But then we get humiliated by all of these other things. What if someone doesn't like my shirt? All of a sudden, I'm embarrassed by something I wasn't embarrassed by 5 minutes ago because someone laughed at my haircut, right? I'm embarrassed because of what? And so I think that there are so many things that we latch onto that we're doing with our time that don't comport with the best version of ourselves. And so whenever I feel like I'm embarrassed, whenever I feel that embarrassment take me over, and I'd be interested how our audience perceives this as well. When you think about the last time you were embarrassed, what did it involve? Let me know in the comments because I find it really interesting. And it probably involves something, and TK, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Maybe there's an additional perspective I'm not seeing, but it probably involves like, I'm not behaving right now, doing what I want to do right now, or abstaining from what I want to abstain from right now, because the best version of me would be doing something different. And I become embarrassed when there's an observer of that. Someone else is observing the misalignment of my actions and the person I want to be.
So what if I'm embarrassed because maybe somebody's laughing at me? I'm walking down the street and I see you, hey, Josh, what's up? And then I trip and fall. And there are some kids who see me trip and fall and they're like, ha, 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 you complete dork. And I feel embarrassed. Break that down. How does that work into what you're saying?
Yeah, I think that's spot on. So what happens is I don't want to be perceived as the type of person who would make such a clumsy gesture. I would trip and fall. You notice this in kids all the time. If you have a little kid who's like, I remember when Ella was 3 and she would hurt herself. She'd bang her arm on something or she'd trip and fall. And the first thing she would do is look up to see what her response should be. And so if I would say, oh, are you okay? Oh, I'm so sorry. Then she starts crying. But if I just look at her and say, she goes, and she moves on because her response is a mirror of my response there, right? And what you're saying is I value what that other person thinks in that scenario. When they saw me trip, they thought that I was a lesser human being. But the truth is, like, we all trip, metaphorically and literally. And so why be embarrassed about it at all?
So that sensation of embarrassment is an opportunity for me to say, hey, why does it embarrass me? It embarrasses me because I want to be respected by others as a person that's in control, as a person that's smooth and wouldn't do something so clumsy. And then you can go a little deeper. Well, what do I really want there? I want to be a person who's in control of my disposition, such that even if I fall, I still feel cool. And it's unwavering, even when other people laugh.
Yeah, and then you value a few things, and you have to start questioning, why do I value those things? Now, 2 of those that you just mentioned that I value, and to me, they're types of personality clutter for me. One is I need to be respected. Okay, well, why? What do I actually get out of that? Well, people like me more. Okay, what do I get out of that? And as you begin to interrogate it, the whole ball of yarn unravels, and you realize how absurd it is to need to be respected.
Yeah.
I listen to podcasts. You know Nori from CNN. He not the news network.
Okay.
No, Capone Noriega, CNN, that CNN, not the news network. Anyway, he was a hip hop artist who has a really popular podcast now called Drink Champs. And one of the questions they ask people every episode, there's like these dualities. Would you choose respect or loyalty? And always hearing these answers crack me up because needing either one of those becomes a prison.
Yeah.
If I need Malabama to be loyal to me, now all of a sudden I'm contorting myself to make her be loyal. Or let's say I do something that's just completely out of step and out of alignment with who she is as a person. Expecting her to then follow me there is disingenuous. Now I'm dragging her because of some faux loyalty, right? And I think the same is true with respect, right? And so needing those things, it's fine to get respect. It's fine to have someone who's loyal to you. There's no problem with that. But as soon as I need them, I've imprisoned myself, and then I start behaving differently. And no wonder we start to feel embarrassed. The other thing that I often cling to is the desire to be cool, right? Because a cool person would never trip like that. James Dean wouldn't trip. No, of course James Dean tripped like that, right?
I don't know, man. That's cool, bro. I can't. He probably would make it look cool some kind of way.
All right, how about this? I'm trying to think of...
Bama gets what I'm saying.
Who's a portrait of cool right now? LeBron James. He trips from time to time.
Nah, Denzel is smooth.
Yes.
Everything from how he drinks a cup of coffee, whatever, everything he does is smooth.
Right.
That's our James Dean, at least to me, in that respect.
I totally agree, especially like Training Day era Denzel Washington, right? But now as you see him as he gets older, he's willing to make those flubs. But even because it's Denzel, those flubs are cool.
Yeah.
His missteps are cool. He embodies coolness in a way. So coolness doesn't have to do whether or not I tripped. Or what do I do with that trip?
Yeah, and you get the impression that his coolness doesn't come from the world crowning him as the king of cool, but it comes from a place of self-acceptance. There are some people who are just so sure of themselves, so confident that they make you sure, you know?
That's right.
Yeah.
And so it can become contagious. Insecurity is contagious, but also that sense of certainty, that self-certainty is also contagious. And so that means that coolness is actually a byproduct. And if you need to be cool, have you ever seen the people who try to affect coolness? It's like that Steve Buscemi meme, which we'll get Danny to put up on the video version of the screen right now, where it's like, hey, fellow kids. And he's like carrying a skateboard. And it's like,
oh, my stars.
He's trying to be cool, right?
So hard.
And we even have a name for that. We call those people tryhards. But then when you see Denzel Washington, it feels effortless. We call it effortless.
By the way, there's a version of this I experience in my work with high school students. Whenever someone new enters the space, there is a predictable fear about making sure they're cool. Everyone is afraid of high school students. Am I cool enough for them? Will they like me? Everyone's paranoid. And it's absolutely amazing because people seem to think that 16-year-olds don't know any 60-year-olds. That 16-year-olds don't have to get along every single day with older people that they don't think are cool. And so when you walk into a classroom and you start trying to act out whatever you think is young and cool, pretending like you understand things that you don't, they see right through you and they resist you because everybody is repulsed by a lack of authenticity. Everyone is repulsed by fake. But when you walk into the classroom and you're like, look, I'm 70, I'm 50, I'm 40, I have no idea what you guys are listening to. I have no idea. Look at what I'm wearing. I'm not cool, but this is what we're going to talk about today. And I'm super excited about it. Let me tell you why. They receive it because people receive authenticity. It's not that they want cool. They want authentic. And authentic is actually what looks cool, which is why everybody has people in their lives that they think are cool that are completely different from one another.
Yeah, it's fascinating because cool is also in the eye of the beholder. And so what you're saying is just because you don't conform to a trend, you don't walk into a school, you're not like rapping Gunna lyrics, because you could do that. And maybe you could even do that authentically, right?
I would get kicked out if I tried that.
That's also true.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, they would see you as being hyper uncool because you're like, here's this 40-something-year-old guy. And these two things, they're incongruous, right?
Yep.
But then you can go in there and you can command a room and start talking about some things that matter. All of a sudden, now you're that cool older guy, not because you're trying to conform to their lifestyle and what is trendy to them, because you've pulled them into your world. And someone could still think you're uncool. I mean, there are people who don't know who Denzel Washington is now, which is wild, right?
Yeah.
I was in a dentist chair the other day, and this young dental tech, she came up and she's like, "Do you know who you look like?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I get it all the time. You're Christopher Walken." She's like, "Who?"
What?
She was like, "No, Denzel Washington."
And I'm like, "Yeah, Christopher Walken." She's like, "I'd have to Google him." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that's true." I mean, she was probably 25 years old, 23 years old. Maybe she doesn't know who Christopher Walken is. Now, he transcends a lot of generations. He's almost 80 years old, so he's well beyond my generation. But people often say, "I look like Christopher Walken." She says, "No, you look like Johnny Bravo."
I've labeled something for you and said, I think I put it down, discount Johnny Bravo. One time we had stuff in the writer's room for you and I was labeling everything with just silly names for people. And I used Johnny Bravo for you, for your hair.
Well, I'm sure Danny put pictures of both Christopher Walken and Johnny Bravo up on the screen so you can compare. Tell me what you think in the comments.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed that highlight clip from the Minimalist Private Podcast. If you'd like to see the full Maximal episode plus more, be sure to check us out on Patreon. The link is in the description. Patreon is what helps us keep this podcast 100% advertisement free. If you're not yet ready for that, check out another video.